It should say. No,
there it is. Now we're live. So there it is. All right. All right.
I gotta fix something here real quick. Hold on a second, Ray. Yep. No, I guess
it says live. So we are.
It's telling me something different on my end. It's saying
on mine it says live, and we've been live for 19 seconds. Although there's nobody joining us yet, so I'm assuming that's Bo's fault. Yep, three people on here. So yeah, we're live. We're hot. We are hot and ready like Little Caesars.
So the question for me is that are we all three on there live? In other words, if y'all can see both Ray, myself, and Bo, let us know, because I'm getting some StreamYard has lost access to your Facebook account, Raymond Burke. Don't worry, we've got you covered. Click here to reconnect. So I don't know.
Click it. But yeah, I mean, we've got comments out there. We've got comments, and
yes, all three. That's a Facebook user saying that. So that's an official okie dokie.
Take that as a yes. You know, somebody's already putting stuff in here. It's got the FMCA. Do I need a DOT number? And
I put that in there because if you click on that, if you go to that, I mean, virtually every single one of us are going to pass and say we don't need a DOT number.
Right.
So, but that's something for down the road a little bit. But
you know what
I wanted to put it up there, so it's there.
This, you know, so we started having this little conversation because, you know, and I'm going to give credit to Gene O'Neill. Gene O'Neill, quite, you know, several months ago, brought up materials of trade. And he said, hey, you know what? As a matter of fact, you're all in non-compliance. Here's materials of trade, you know, brochure on there. And the DOT materials of trade, and I've got it, we'll show it a little bit later. We'll bounce back to it. It says, essentially, you can carry 8 gallons of bleach in a container. Not good for our business because most of us use a lot more than 8 gallons of bleach out there. So then all of a sudden, you know, I called you. I said, this is something we need to talk about. And then I called Bo, you know, and just another incredible friend. And for those of you who aren't familiar with Bo Josetti, Bo, welcome. Bo is the president of the PWNA, the Power Washers Network of America, the industry's largest not-for-profit trade association, actually representing our interest. Bo is a very, very good friend of mine as well. And I said, Bo, you know what? This is something we need to officially talk about. And Bo, who's a master at one-upsmanship, said, well, have you taken your PWNA DOT training? We've already talked about this. And so I've been in there taking the training. Bo's taking the training. Doug, have you taken the training yet?
Not through the PWNA, no.
I am so impressed with the training. So, Bo, tell us a little bit about that, please, sir.
Well, and you just did what I did for the last couple hours is go through that training. And you know, this 8-gallon thing that you're referring to is news to me, and it's not specifically covered in that training that you and I just watched.
Right.
But it goes into heavy safety training and discussion about that. And there is, you know, that training, and I didn't know this, qualifies you for your 3-year, you know, training platform, whatever it was, the 3-year requirement for hazmat. So. You know,
and you know, and before we get to just carried off here, let me go ahead and share this screen so we can see what we're talking about here. I'm just going to flip over here to this screen. So this is a publication by the DOT. It actually, you know, shows on here. You can see on the, as soon as I can get my screen moved around a little bit here.
Make it bigger.
So it's a quad fold, but so there's the front. Hazard Materials Transportation Compliance Basics. MOT means materials of trade. This document was actually updated, and the date on it is 2006. I have not found where it's been updated, a more recent update on there. But according to the DOT, what hazardous materials qualify as MOT, materials of trade, on here? Well, the bleach that we use is considered a corrosive material, class 8, even though it says muriatic drain cleaners, battery acid. It's not actually listed as a oxidizer, as a bleaching compound. Trust me on this. I've gone out and researched it this afternoon.
And you have to remember when looking at these that when it says the examples, that's all it is. It's not giving every single thing that fits into that category.
Exactly. So if the hazard is a medium or lower, so a class 2 is medium, a class 3 is low class, is low hazard. Essentially, we're allowed. Let me find this on here again. But we're not allowed as much as most of us are carrying around based on this. Now, again, I'm not going to sit here and say I'm the world's expert on this. In fact, what I would love to find is somebody telling me, Ray, Doug, Bo, you guys are incorrect, because here's the actual regulations on here. Well, and I know, Doug, you've gone out and talked to people at DOT today. I've gone out and talked to people at DOTs today, and I'm still getting a lot of confusion on there. Now, I've gone and taken the PWNA, which really made me feel so much better about that, and I've done my 3-year training. There's just a lot to it for us to understand out there.
Well, the first thing I want to get into is I want to call Wild West Wash Services out, because normally every day, if we're 1 minute late, he's telling us, hey, you guys are late. What's going on? And today you're late, brother. Just pointing that out. Bo, do you remember the name Ryan McGowan?
Yes.
Okay. So Ryan McGowan is a retired trooper, and he reached out to me today, and I guess he had done a presentation on this very subject for the PWNA. So he might be a good resource for us on this.
Yeah, and is he down there in Louisiana? Because
no, he's I can't remember where he said he's at.
Right. So was he the gentleman that did the class online training, or was he the one that was in South Carolina or Charleston for us?
2019, he did something for us.
There you go. So he's a retired New York State trooper that was a DOT expert, and he showed up at the convention, and right now we're trying to get somebody for New Orleans, and maybe you can help us with that, Dougie, being down there. But he came, and really it was eye-opening, and I mean, you guys have seen my trucks. I've got I don't know, 7 trucks that are under DOT regulation, and I mean, I remember sitting there having lunch with him with AC Lockyer, and he was taking us to school. And what he did, he would go out there into the parking lot, and we said, hey, go out there and show us all the violations you see. And it was eye-opening for sure.
Yeah.
So
one of the things here, going back to that whole the MOT thing, the materials of trade thing, to keep in mind is that there's a big word, and Ray and I were talking about this earlier, which is interpretation. So it's also going to be up to that individual DOT or state trooper to interpret how he wants to interpret it.
True. Now here's, I've just found what I was looking for. I'm going to highlight it because it's on the screen here. So packing group 2 or 3, other than division 4.3, is a consumer commodity, ORM-D. The maximum amount of material in each package is 30 kilograms, 66 pounds for solids, or 30 liters, 8 gallons for liquids. So if we're going under this going, so here's the crux of the situation. Like truly, here's the crux of it. If you go in there and say, I don't need to be regulated, you can't regulate me this is just my materials of trade, then you are limited to 8 gallons of a certain weight of that. So you can't have your cake and eat it too. You can't sit here and say, I'm not regulated, to you, government, because I'm not regulated in this.
And so let's also understand that in the regulations, the one of the things that's probably the biggest eye opener for me really was that once you fall under their guidelines, and we'll explain what those guidelines are here in a minute, but once you fall under their guidelines, you as I was telling Bo earlier, it's not the right way to say this, but you almost lose your rights. And what I mean by that is that once you fall under their guidelines, they have the right to search you. They have the right to inspect. Inspect is probably the right word. Inspect, not search. By the way, just one quick reminder, because we forgot to do it earlier. We're not giving legal advice and all that kind of stuff. These are our opinions. This is what we've read. This is what we've learned. This is what we know. All that kind of fun stuff. But so he has the right to inspect. And so if he wants to inspect inside your glove compartment, underneath your floor mat, or wherever he wants to on that vehicle, he has the right to do so. And the words are, you must comply.
Yeah, they've also got the right to show up to your property and do that inspection on a vehicle that's just sitting there and not even driving.
Wow.
And that's what people don't realize either. So look, I've had, I don't know, probably a half a dozen DOT stops over the last 10 years. And not once have they asked for SDS sheets on the bleach that we're carrying.
Right.
Not a single time. Now, they've gone through all the other regular, questions and inspections and most of those stops, my guys have gotten away with just, minor violations, but not a single time did they ask for any SDS sheets or ask about the chlorine in any of the containers.
Right. And we're the same way, but we've had stops ourselves, and we've not had the SDS. We've not had the hey, where are your SDS? I mean, I was actually with Tim Aselton, and we were in his rig, and part of the thing I gave this story before online years ago, but we were in his unlogoed, unmarked NPR where Tim was transitioning out of business. He didn't want his name on it, and we got pulled over coming out of Panama City where we had done a church steeple, and we talked to the DOT and our officer in Florida. They merged DOT with FHP, so FHP officers are DOT compliance officers now. This was actually an officer that came from DOT side, and they made him an FHP officer. So he was intimately familiar with the regulations. And we said, why are you pulling us? He said, well, because you're in an Isuzu NPR and you're obviously a commercial truck. And we're like, yeah, but there's no DOT numbers. There's no, it was a friendly exchange. I mean, he saw Tim's badge and he realized, he's dealing with another public service, official there. But it wasn't a confrontational, but he said, no, and I said, look, I run a thing called Spray Wash Pro. I want to know this from our members. He said, because you're in an Isuzu NPR and this has a gross vehicle weight of 12,500 pounds, I have the authority to pull you over. And so Tim pulls out his registration and he says, well, look, this thing weighed in at 9,500 pounds. Can I go? No, because it doesn't matter what it weighed in at, because it is ranked for 12,500 pounds. I know this as an officer, so I get to pull you over.
Hey, I need to clarify something real quick. Bo, I had said Ryan McGowan, but that's not correct. The guy, that state trooper's name is Scott Hendershot.
That's right.
Hendershot.
I recognize the name Ryan McGowan, but I didn't recognize.
The reason Ryan McGowan was in my head. So Ryan McGowan pulled a prank on me today, and he got me. He got me good. He sent me a picture of someone that had maybe, I don't know who, surface cleaned the deck, and said, the picture, and he said, I left my wand there, and the homeowner says I'm cleaning this deck incorrectly. And so I'm like, that you are typing out this response. So that's why Ryan McGowan was in my head, because he got me today, and that was good. Good on you. But Scott Hendershot is that trooper's name. So.
And how did he contact you?
He contacted me because of this show that we're having tonight. He might even be on here. I'm not really sure. Okay. I know he had something else he had to be doing, so he had contacted me because he saw that we were doing the show tonight.
Unfortunately, we can't see who most of the Facebook users are from the interface on there. Somebody's just saying we got 7 DOT tickets last year, my small flatbed with a GVR of 9,900 pounds. Ignorance is never the answer in the court of law. Absolutely. Unfortunately, it's not, Now,
but let's understand why that is. Because when we're looking at that it's the gross vehicle, and I don't think it's because the GVWR is the 9,900 pounds. It's because of the combined weight rating. Okay. So, matter of fact, Ray and I talked about this earlier. Let me go this way. If you have a regular pickup truck, let's say you have an F-250, okay, and that F-250 typically they're between 5,000 and 7,000 pounds. So let's make the argument that that's a 6,000 pound truck. Okay. Now let's say you're pulling a trailer. This is where most of us are getting in trouble, is with that trailer, because now let's say the trailers weigh somewhere generally, 2-axle trailer generally between 1,200 and 2,000 pounds. So let's say that trailer, argue it to be at 1,500 pounds. Now you've got all of your equipment, your pumps, your hoses, your wheels, and your tanks, and all this kind of stuff, not including the liquid. And let's argue that that's about another 1,500 pounds. Right there, you're sitting at about 9,000 pounds. Now, if you're carrying, let's say 45 gallons of bleach, that takes you up another 450 pounds. Now, let's say you're carrying 80 gallons of water, which takes you up another 600 gallons, right, or 600 pounds. You're now over that limit, because that limit is 10,001 pounds. Anything over 10,000 pounds, you now fall under that criteria of a commercial rig.
Right. And how many times do we see guys riding around with tote tanks full of water as well? 275 gallons on a single axle trailer. So huge problem here. A lot of compliance is just not looking like an idiot. I don't mean to be that ugly, but
well, it's just demonstrating you're trying to do due diligence.
Do the right thing, exactly. And I see
more than anything
on some of the little forums, that we go into that had a lot of really, really new guys out there. What do you think about this trailer? And I see a lawnmower trailer with a 270 gallon tote tank strapped to it, single axle trailer. And a lot of times I sit there and tell people, please never fill that up with water, because you're going to make the axles do that right there,
Yeah, and you're asking to get pulled over, because the reality of it is, if an officer, doesn't matter, DOT, state trooper, city officer, whatever, if they happen to know what the weight rating of that trailer is, single axle trailer, and they know what you're carrying, water, and they say, okay, well, gee whiz, I know what that is. They know you're overweight. They can stop you right there, because you're a safety hazard on the road, and they know that, and that's their job, is public safety. So another point of this, though, is I think a lot of people that I've talked to in the past get confused between interstate and intrastate. Okay, and interstate, the best way to look at it in my mind's eye, is you're traveling, you're going down the interstate, you're traveling between states, where intrastate is just you're staying within your state, and rules change. Matter of fact, I got a list of different So you have two different ways of looking at it. You've got the federal DOT, and then you got the state DOT,
Right.
And you can fall under either one. And there are a lot of states that have their own,
right,
that do require DOTs.
State DOTs can vary from state to state, where you think you might be legal in, and I don't have to deal with, well, I mean, I'm 18 miles away from Georgia, but somebody like Bo, who talks about going over to Pennsylvania a bunch, you would have to deal with that a lot more than I would, Bo.
Well, no, I got it. The Delaware, Maryland state line is 2 miles from my house. Okay, and a good, probably, let's call it 30-40% of my revenue is generated in Maryland. Maryland, at least years ago, the #1 state in the country for DOT stops and fines.
Wow.
Second was California. And our good buddy Rob Anderson, okay, his new shop is in Maryland, and he literally can hit a golf ball from his shop and hit the way station, the DOT way station. He's dealing with it big time right there.
You obviously have not seen him golf.
I can hit the
golf. Well, Scott just made the comment, and I'd love to allude to what Scott's saying right here. Only 16,000-pound trailers. If you do it right, keep it clean, you're much less likely to get pulled over. 100%. Have hose reels. Don't have crap hanging out your trailer. Don't have ladders duct taped on. Don't have,
electrical cords rolled up and hanging on the back of your ladder.
Yeah, I mean, don't give them a reason to pull you over and inspect you. And by no means is this me going, oh, we'll violate the law, because I'm not. I think we should all be very familiar with the law. I literally, I have an apology to make to Bo as a friend and president of the PWNA. I've been a member of the PWNA for 4 or 5 years now, and I know they've really kicked up the education a lot. I had no idea the DOT training was on there. That was amazing, and I'm not fully through it yet, but oh my gosh, that was absolutely incredible. And to know that I have to put my employees, federal law, I have to put my employees who are carrying hazardous materials through there once every 3 years. And this PWNA training satisfies that requirement.
That's exactly
pretty
right.
Cool.
Next time, Bo, you have to sit in the middle so I can whisper to you, because Ray's not an employee. He doesn't have any employees.
He's got 6.
That's when I was an employer.
Number 7, right? Number 7.
Right, number 7. Number 7.
Speaking of Bo, real quick, Bo, we got a PWNA event coming up on September 8th through the 11th in New Orleans, man. Talk to me about that.
Well, and yes, we do. And so, and I want to get a DOT, representative.
I will work on that.
Well, you and I will talk about this. And like Raymond just said, the PWNA now has online training that is available to all members and is created by all of the top experts in this industry. Yes, I said experts, okay? I just finished filming the house washing class that Raymond is a contributor of. Nathan Red Elfs from Agent Clean is a contributor to. We've got almost 20 classes available now for our members in training. 5 or 6 of them being safety classes that all of my employees have taken, including myself. We've got an environmental class that Mike Draper completely redid himself that deals with all the EPA issues. It frustrates me sometimes when I see all these guys on Facebook really just giving false information.
Yeah.
When it comes to environmental issues, when it comes to Department of Transportation issues, you can't really get too much bad information about OSHA anymore, because Draper and Expert Safety Services and the PWNA has done a real good job of putting that information out there. And I know that you guys have it now too. So, but the DOT stuff, this entire industry is in violation every single day, almost 100%. It's impossible to be completely compliant. Let's be honest.
Right.
But some of the stuff that I see is just amazing.
Yeah, it's almost impossible to be completely compliant, but don't give them reasons. Don't give them, Doug and I were talking earlier about, so your load. I mean, how many times do we see guys with pictures of their rigs and literally the tote tank is held down with a ratchet strap? Is it legal?
Rusty ratchet.
Is that legal? Well, it is secured if it's a brand new ratchet strap. But you start letting rust compromise that turnbuckle on there. You start letting UV compromise the fabric and the webbing on there of the nylon.
You get
it's
a little
no longer compliant.
Mm-hmm. Your strapping has to be DOT approved, number one. From what I read today, and I've read in the past, that you can use virtually anything to tie and secure something in a way, as long as it's DOT approved and as long as it is securing that load, if you would. However, again, that one big word that we talked about, I can't remember, interpretation.
Yeah.
If that officer, if his interpretation of that is that thing is damaged, if it's going over like let's say semi trucks, if you've ever noticed, they have that outer rail, right? They can't have their strap going over that outer rail. And if you ever notice on a lot of things that have a sharp bend, they've got like a piece of cardboard or something on there, because it's the same thing if you're on top of a building and you're gonna not rappel off that building, but you're gonna be hanging off
a controlled rope.
Yeah. You don't want that rope rubbing against that edge. You have to have something there to protect it, right? So if it gets even a little bit frayed or a little bit rusty or a little bit sun dried, sun bleached, whatever, he has the right to say, this doesn't meet my specifications and it's not securing this load properly. Here's your ticket.
And then you get to go to court and fight that, and it's a matter of interpretation. And guess what? The police officer is going to win in there. Raymond,
real quick, and you and I just took the DOT class PWNA offers. How many times did that guy reference an accident and what the first responders need to be able to do based on the information you can provide?
Right.
You have firsthand knowledge of this, unfortunately. Okay. But continue to reference that and how important it is for them to know for their own safety what they're dealing with.
Right.
Something I took from that class that I just watched, and I want to look into this because it doesn't get specific on that, is he mentions 2 different hazardous materials that you cannot carry at the same time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'm wondering, think about this for a second. SH, F9.
Right.
High amounts, coming together in the event of an accident.
Yeah. It's part of why, things have to be in properly labeled containers. They have to be secured. One of the things that I think a lot of guys aren't realizing that, and we're not trying to scare people, but at the same time, we're trying to scare people, and you need to take this course and understand these things. And again, I'm not trying to bust anybody's, cojones about like, oh, you can only carry more than 8 gallons, but these are all things for us to think about as professionals. And the bigger your company gets, the higher the fines are going to be, because you can't get blood out of a turnip, as we say in the South. So, they're not looking to fine you out of existence, the smaller companies. But, the bigger you get, the more compliance you've got to do. But don't give them a chance to pull you over to start with. Part of the DOT regulations is your stuff needs to be secured. Is a 5-gallon jug of F9 slung in the back of your truck secured? It's not. It's not. And like you alluded to, Bo, I've had a serious accident before, and we wound up not getting charged in that accident. The ticket went to my driver for careless driving on that. I mean, there were no charges brought against spray wash. That's another thing that's so important, to look at on these things. The driver of the vehicle, the employer certainly has fault. The employer certainly has liability, but the driver of that vehicle also bears responsibility according to DOT regulations. Yep. They have to walk around it. They have to do a vehicle check. They have to be responsible for it.
Only if they fall under that commercial rating, though. So if they are under that 10,100 pounds, and again, this is where normally in a pickup truck, you are typically not going to be over their limit. It's once you hook up that trailer and you've got the weight of what's in your truck, the weight. And look, how many of us carry a bunch of equipment inside of our pickup truck as well as in the trailer? I'm going to venture to say most guys are over that 10,000 pounds. If they're pulling a double axle trailer, there's almost no way to get around it from the way I pencil out the numbers.
Oh, I want to read a couple of comments. Wild West apparently is just a wild man there. He speeds a lot. Fuel cells have to be DOT approved. They have to be DOT approved, and also they have to be mounted per DOT out there. Something else, and DOT approved is metal or plastic. Then you run into, okay, if you want to go to work on a military base, a lot of times the military base say no plastic fuel cells. You have to have a metal fuel cell. There's a cascade of regulations out there that again, the bigger you get and the more aggressive you get in this industry. Aunt Sarah is saying, there is a working limit on all straps, and if it's defective, you could get a ticket. Absolutely. And how many times do I see these Wild West talking about his OSHA course that he takes every year? 100%. I believe, Bo, the OSHA 30 is part of your PWNA membership, right?
OSHA 1910.
OSHA 1910. Okay. Yeah. OSHA 1910. Yep.
It's available. Respirator, ladder, rooftop, chemical. Yep.
But what Aunt Sarah was saying about the working load on the straps, I can't tell you how many times I see guys going, oh, well, I've secured my tote tank down with the 995 for 4 set of, it's only I think a 350 pound ratchet strap out there. Guys, guess what? I mean, okay, I'm slow, but let's hold on. Let's do the math here. A 275 pound tote or 275 gallon tote of water at 8 pounds a gallon is 2,200 pounds. If you've got 350, if you've got 500 pound straps and you've got 4 of them on there, you're still not within the requirements.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And another thing to keep in mind is that it's not just the DOT that we're talking about, believe it or not, because you've got the DOT, you've got OSHA, right? And then you've got the EPA, and they can all have their own separate regulations, and you have to comply with all of them. At the same time.
Yeah. So that was part of my learning with the DOT stop. Everything's strapped down in the enclosed trailer. Understand? Enclosed trailer, not just in the trailer, but whenever you get stopped, they're opening your trailer up and they're checking you out on there.
Mm-hmm. And again, if you're over that 10,001 pound, they then have I said right, it's authority, as Bo said earlier, they have the authority to search that vehicle or to inspect that vehicle.
Look at what Scott's saying. You can't afford to do it cheap. And again, it's amazing, whenever you're sitting here doing a live like this, nobody's really hitting like. Thanks, guys, because nobody really likes it. But y'all should hit the like button on there because it's going to make this rise up in YouTube and rise up in Facebook because this is
the groups
that people need to know. This is stuff that people need to have in their hands,
I think this is one of the most important things we could be talking about as an industry because we are all in violation and most of us have no clue what we're talking about unless you've done. I've gone to a seminar for DOT, and I sat there. It was like 3-4 hours long, and it was close here, wasn't far. And then after the class, and there were about literally 50-60 people there from all over. I talked to the state troopers that are the enforcement, right?
Mm-hmm.
They still don't know.
They don't.
They couldn't answer some of the questions. They said, well, that might have changed. This, that, and the other. They're not completely compliant. and on all the new regulations and everything else.
But so much of it is going to deal with how you look. Are your basics done? I mean, if your truck looks like ass, if your load isn't secure, if you've got an attitude with them, guess what? They're going to look at more and more and more on there to find out about you. I mean, 100%, they're going to do that. So you might not be able to be 100% compliant, but you have to be as compliant as you can be. And a lot of times I think if they see that you're being relatively compliant, you're going to get a pass on this. Like what we were talking about earlier, the materials of trade. So you don't necessarily have to follow the materials of trade. You can follow the hazardous materials basis on there. And I was sitting there listening to my PWNA training on there. One of the things that they had mentioned was they have a list on how much material, if you meet the requirements of having your medical card, your DOT medical card, if you've done the training, how much you're allowed to carry. Well, that's a much higher amount than the materials of trade, because you're allowed, if you have a compliant tank, if you have a compliant trailer, if you have a trained person driving it, they will allow you to carry more than the 8 gallons or 30 liters of liquids.
And keep in mind too, so Gio DeRosa had said in an earlier thread that for him, he was able to go online and get his DOT numbers within minutes, right? If you're going to be running a heavy rig, and when I say a heavy rig, let's say an F350, 450, 550 flatbed, right? Mm-hmm. Look at the weights that you're going to be carrying. If you're going to be near that 10,001 pound, I mean, here's the problem, okay? When you register with the DOT, you are now announcing, hey, I'm here, come see me, I'm here, right? So that's on the bad side of it. But at the same time, if you don't announce it, I mean, you could get in trouble the other way as well. So, I mean, if you're going to be running over that 10,000 pounds, I encourage you to get that DOT number. And again, it really only takes minutes. I don't know where Ray went or why he went. I guess he probably had to go potty. Anyhow.
I'll be right back.
I'll be right back. There you go.
Well, and something Ray and I were talking about, I think today or yesterday, when he just mentioned the DOT approved tanks that so I've switched over to all the newer NSF approved, and ANSI approved tanks that I was assuming are approved by DOT. But now I'm wondering, and I'm not trying to, because I just went to Power Wash store. I got 6 tanks and 6 straps and everything else for the truck rebuilds I want to do. But my SH provider that comes and delivers it to me just last year had to get all new tanks because DOT, and he comes with 3 500-gallon tanks that he dispenses from. DOT said, your old tanks are no good. We have new requirements and regulations for tanks for companies like you. So I'm wondering now if the tanks.
I'm going to say this, and I can't say it for a factual thing, but I think when you're dealing with, I'm going to use the word the quality suppliers. Power Wash store, Hindleye, LNA. For the most part, I'm betting, I don't know this to be fact, but they pretty much know if they're selling stuff like that. I mean, I think that they would know fairly quickly because they're reputable companies, reputable dealers. So I think you're probably good to go. I mean, we could always ask them, but again, dealing with a reputable, I just feel like that they probably, I could be messed up, but I think that they're probably there.
We would assume.
Yeah. And you know what assumptions do. All right. So PA Software says, I'm late to the show, but Bo is spot on about this being most important education we need. I am putting together an F450 rig and finding out I have a lot of new requirements as a rig operator. Let's see. All kinds of questions here. Let me see if I can jump through a couple real quick. You can get pulled over 3 times by 3 different officers and get 3 different answers. What a violation is or isn't exactly. That's what we were talking about earlier. There are so many vehicle traffic laws on the books that no Leo is a police officer, will know all of them. The book is thicker than the Bible. Absolutely.
It is. Actually, the on the PWNA DOT video, he showed the regulations, and it was 2 books, and they literally were thicker. Each book was thicker than the Bible. Yeah. Mm-hmm. 2 top priorities is compliance and safety. 100%. Attempting to be compliant will help you, in a court or named in a lawsuit. One of the things, talk about compliance. When we had our accident, one of the first things that, we were called from first responders on the scene going, do you have your SDS on here? I told them where it was. It saved us a lot of heartache as far as the wreck was concerned. There's plenty of heartache there, but because we had that SDS listing out the materials that were on that vehicle, it did help us with some regulation issues on there.
Yeah, and again, a lot of this I think does go back to the appearance of your rig. I mean, is it just a complete rust bucket? You got stuff hanging off? Is it clean? You got rags hanging out everywhere? Look, I'll tell you another one. This happened to me here recently, and I was going down the highway, and I was on my motorcycle. There was a landscaping truck on the highway beside me. I'm passing him up on my motorcycle, and guess what flies out the back of his truck? 2, one, and then another one shortly thereafter, empty water bottles. So even having the empty water bottles on there that you think, this is no big deal, whatever, that's the reason that these are there. And if you get that officer who's just in that cranky mood to begin with, that's his job, is to protect the guys on the motorcycle, right? I mean, theoretically, if you look at it that way, that bottle came out, and I did like that. Not that it would have hurt, it was empty, whatever, but I am on a bike going 55 miles an hour.
Well, that was another great point that the PWNA the PWNA video brought up. Maintenance logs, maintenance records. It's imperative that you have them. And I'm going to tell you all something right now. God forbid something ever happens, so you ever get into an accident on there, and really bad things happen on, you need those maintenance records. But not only do you need them, it's also DOT compliance that you have them whenever you start operating these heavy vehicles. It's not just a good idea. And I mean, even though we were a 250 with a skid unit under 10,000 pounds, we still we had a company maintenance policy. We had maintenance records. We had oil changes. We had the brakes checked and serviced. We had, all of that stuff on there is so important to have. You start getting up bigger and you start getting to that commercial classification, you better have it.
But Bo, here's one I think you'll agree with, and that is none of this matters because we use cash under the table employees and we use 1099 employees, so we don't have to worry about that, right?
And we ride around with unmarked vehicles as much as we all have.
Yeah.
I've seen that argument. Well, it doesn't matter. Just ride around unmarked vehicles. Yeah. Well,
none of us have a wrap or anything, do we?
You got to remember too that if you fall under that DOT regulation, you're 10,001 pound, right? Because you got that trailer, or because you got an F350, 450, 550 with these big tanks and all that kind of stuff on it. There are regulations and rules like keeping track of all of your employees, their job application. Okay, you got to keep their job application. You got to have their drug test. You got to keep it for what, like 3 years or something. You've got to keep all of those records. So if you're doing that cash under the table, it's my buddy kind of a thing. I mean, these are the things that can get us in trouble. And if you are going to be that guy that's going to be, I don't give a damn, and I'm going to lip off the officer and all that. Look, I think most of them are pretty cool for the most part. As long as they see you're being cool and you're trying to comply and you're not trying to be hard on them and all that, you're going to get a lot further that way than if you're just being.
Yeah, well, you get more flies with honey. I mean, and the honey being here that, hey, at least I give a damn about it. I don't have a bunch of crap. I'm not driving a rust bucket. And hey, I'll be the first one to admit, I drove a rust bucket for the first couple of years. I mean, everybody knows my story. I was broke. Yeah. So, I mean, I did what I had to do on there. But God knows if I would have actually had something bad happen to me in the first couple of years of operation. I mean, it would have sucked. I lost a trailer at one point, and I had this. I've told the story before. This would have been, I don't know, what year is it now? 2021. This would have been within our first 3 years of operation. But I literally had a trailer. I had a hitch malfunction. And it came loose, and I hit a scion at 4 o'clock in the morning. I mean, I literally felt I was like, we went over this big hump on Franklin Boulevard that they've since, repaired. But I was like, oh crap. I was like, oh, what the safety chain? And I started hitting my brakes. So the trailer would back into my truck. And I heard one safety chain chick. And I was like, oh crap. And then my trailer started getting sideways. And then I heard the other safety chain. And my trailer literally totaled a scion. I mean, there was a scion parked. Thank God it was at 4 a.m. in the morning. And the ladder that I had strapped to the top of the tote tank and stuff, it shot it like a bullet. It wound up in the neighbor's yard because it shot off of the tote tank, even though I had it strapped down. But I totaled a car from my trailer coming loose from my truck,
Well, hey, getting to this point here where it said Lou made a great point. What about us guys running slide-in skids in our trucks? Even though I have all my stuff mounted to the skid itself is not mounted. Well, I mean, the catch-22 here, right? The catch-22 is that if it's in the back of your pickup truck and you're not pulling a trailer and you don't appear to be over that 10,000 pounds, the odds of getting stopped are probably pretty slim to none, realistically. However, if you happen to get stopped for some reason, your load is not secure, right? So even the drop-in skids, and this is something I don't know that any of the drop-in skids have, but is a way to have a quickly removable.
One of the things, well, let me answer that. What I did with our company is we actually drilled through the side rail of the truck and through the side rail of the, where a drop-in skid, at least once in the power wash store, because that's what I'm familiar with, how they tend to have that flange that comes out. I would drill through the flange and through the side body of the truck, and then go to Tractor Supply Company and get a red dipped handled, pin, put it in there, and then put a cotter pin through that, so that would actually secure that load. That's what I did. So, some more. Scott said they do inspection for 7 months. Bo, I think the PWNA said you have to keep them on file for 90 days. 90 days. And in fact, it even recommended that you don't keep them on file for more than 90 days because technically, if you have it, they could inspect it. So just a thought,
Well, and the maintenance record thing, and I got to do a better job. I'll tell you that right now on my stuff as far as the records go. But, he also made a point that if you were to sell that vehicle, you don't just get rid of those maintenance records. No. If that new purchaser exit next week and has major problems,
failure,
they want to know what the maintenance records were, and he said they can come back to you.
Absolutely. So Scott has a great point there. Yeah, keep it for 7 months or so. Yeah.
And keep something else in mind. Let's say that you are 100% compliant. You make sure that everything complies with DOT regulations, right? You're over the 10,001 pounds, so you try to make sure everything is DOT compliant. but you don't have the numbers on the truck, you're still not compliant, right? Because if you're over that, you're supposed to have the numbers on top of it. And one other thing I'll throw out there, very interesting for me today was that, I don't know if you guys are familiar with the term double jeopardy. There is no double jeopardy law. And what that means is that if you can get fines from the EPA and the DOT, and they all pile on top of each other. It's not, well, I got a fine for having a goatee by the DOT, and then that wipes out my fine for the EPA. No. The DOT gives you the fine, then the EPA gives you the fine, so it's a double jeopardy thing. And that can really add up quickly, especially in the case of an accident.
And this is one of those interesting things, and I'm not advocating yay or nay either way, but this is one of the things that you have to understand with the guys that are, is it easier to be a single owner operator running a helper out there? And you know what? There's something to be said about that, because all three of us, trying to make sure I get the right way, all three of us wound up having, decent sized companies. I think we were all around the same, level out there whenever two of us sold.
I'm the only one that still has one.
You're the only one I see washing here. Well, I still wash for a wage. But it's this just goes to show where it's just so important, to how much money do we spend on compliance? How much money have all of us spent on compliance and on crap that we didn't need? Now that I'm technically employed by a much, much larger company, I'm amazed at the compliance things that they do. They're just, it's wow. Okay, throw that away. It's old. But wait, I spent, $4,000 on, I don't care. Throw it away. It's old. Oh, wait, that shelf has rust on it. Throw it away. It's old. But I spent, I don't care, and this is all part of it, because they don't want things like that to show that there's any kind of deferred maintenance whatsoever. It's why the new rig that they put here in service is probably $140,000. But then again, they're playing big league stuff. I thought I was big league. I wasn't big league. Yeah.
So this one here says probably at least 75% of the contractors in our industry are violating the DOT laws, starting with no numbers on the truck, like Doug said. Yes, I'm with Bo. I think that number is up there.
Yeah, I expect it's a lot bigger than that, especially some of the trailers that I see out there, and again, we've mentioned the guy, hell, if you have a tote tank full of water, you're at 2,200 pounds already, without the weight of the tote tank. And a tote tank
without the weight of the trailer.
Yeah.
Without the weight of the truck, without all of that stuff. That's where we're trying to go with this. It's not that we're trying to paint doom and gloom. We want you to be educated about what's out there, how it's out there, and why it's out there. That's why we went over the numbers of, this is how much your pickup truck weighs. This is how much your trailer weighs. This is how much your equipment weighs. This is how much your bleach weighs. This is how much your water weighs. All those things add up to a potential for problem. And again, I think a lot of this boils down to any accidents that you may get into, or if you just have you have a traffic violation for whatever reason. And it's not even you. Bo's not driving all his trucks. I didn't drive all my trucks. Ray isn't driving all his trucks.
Yeah.
So I was in a vehicle with another company where his guy ran a red light. It was a great reason to get pulled over. And now you've pissed off the officer for whatever reason because you ran a red light. And your truck, even though you're not on it, is now subject to all these rules and regulations.
Bo, somebody's asking, or Jim Leedy is asking, would you talk about the PWNA online training?
Before Bo does that, let me throw this out there. Why would we, trying to go the right direction, right? Why would we, Ray and I, want to promote the PWNA? And why does the PWNA want to promote us?
Well, Let me give my example, and I'll give you, then Bo can give his.
Yep.
You know what? We're not adversaries at all in here. We have Spray Wash Pro. We give training. Doug and I can sit here and go, you know what? We need to talk about this tonight, and let's do because we literally thought about this like a day ago and said, this is something we really need to address. You and I could say, let's do a class on GAF ridgeline shingles and why they suck to walk on. We can do this. And literally you and I can go and give our experiences and other contractors' experiences. And you know what? Our board meeting is, wrong one. You and then me.
Yeah.
We can make this happen. Whereas the PWNA is actually the industry's only, that I know of, because I've seen documentation showing that it's not, but the only not-for-profit that can go and lobby legislature that, they're an awesome industry organization who, they literally have an education director in Michael Draper. They contact experts like us to contribute to their classes. We're not at odds with them at all.
It's all about education, and we want to give you the best education. Right. And sometimes that education might come from a different direction, but it's better for you to have that. So we want to promote good education, period.
Somebody might be pissed if they went and paid for a PWNA class online of how to properly wrap a plant. But, you'll go out there and see that on Spray Wash Pro all the time on how to properly wrap a plant with Tyvek. So PWNA serves a purpose in the food chain. We serve a purpose in the food chain. Bo, let's talk about the online training.
Well, the online training is we've kind of got an exclusive here. And by that, I mean all of the classes that we have. And we've almost got 20 classes. Okay, we've got classes now from Power Wash University. Their 101s coming to us for us to share with our members. Right. We've got classes from the IWCA. The IWCA is known for their safety training. They have an ambassadorship with OSHA. They're recognized by OSHA for their training. All the other classes that we have been contributed to by, yes, I'm going to say it, all the top experts in this industry. Do I need to name them? Okay. Yeah. The philosophy of the PWNA is bringing the industry together to move it forward. So we started that philosophy by bringing in all of you. Raymond helped with the house wash class. AC does the roof cleaning. Okay. Hydrochem does the fleet wash. Everett Abrams does the wood restoration. We got Carlos Gonzalez contributing. We got Michael Hindelater contributing. And forgive me if I leave anybody out, but we've got the collection of everybody that have contributed to what is now available, not only at the conventions, all right, where we're still going to have the classroom time and, oh, by the way, the hands-on training with the new trailer that thank you very much, Eric and Lisa Seitz.
Eric and Lisa, awesome people.
I saw that thing up in Pennsylvania.
Yep, I'm going to be driving that thing to New Orleans. But it's all there. It's everybody contributed, and it's not too many other outlets can say that they pulled in all those other people to do it. So that's one thing. But
I have a little bit of heartburn over the trailer, but I won't talk about it here. You know what it is because you have the same heartburn.
I know we did. Don't do it. Don't do it.
I'm not.
Do it.
I'm not, but
Yeah, I know. But again, though, what we're doing and so much that happens within the PWNA happens, very quietly underground. We're working for the industry without anybody really knowing what we're doing. I mean, I've got communications with people that I don't want to mention right now because I don't want to blow the cover of the good things we're trying to do for the industry.
I mean, how many times have you and I talked over the past 2 years where you've reached out to Sherwin-Williams and trying to deal with industry paint issues on behalf of the contractors, whether you're a member of the PWNA or not? I mean, you're much less selfless than I am. I mean, Doug and I are actually sitting here running a little for-profit school teaching people how to be profitable, where you've got our back ends covered, for lack of a better term. I mean, we'll go out there and teach you how to be profitable, but you know what, whenever you talk about the butt being covered, that's Bo's, that's PWNA stuff right there.
Well, and the whole paint issue, look, I think we're at the embryonic stage of this. I think this is only going to get worse.
Yeah.
And Sherwin-Williams is now willing to have, and it's not just Sherwin-Williams, okay? But Sherwin-Williams is the #1 paint manufacturer in the world because they bought up everybody.
Right.
They're willing to have a conversation with us, the industry, on how do we, come up with a solution. And I've had those communications and stand to have more communications here coming up shortly. So that's one type of thing, yes.
Well, and that's where the legitimacy of actually having a real live, true, not-for-profit association is so important. I mean, for the guys that don't understand the distinction between like Spray Wash Pro and PWNA, there's a huge distinction on there. And we're the first to sit there and say it. I think, Bo is that we're not competition at all. I mean, we're friends who are trying to help each other out. So,
and we can do what the other one can't. So there's things that the PWNA can't do because of their nonprofit status that we can do.
I'm sure this must be a PWNA. Our KEC certification is backed by NFPA, the people that create the National Fire Protection. Yes, I mean, so you go out there, you want to do hood cleaning, you need to get the KEC certification by the PWNA. You want to sell to government, entities, you need to come and talk to me and Doug about our class that we have,
Yeah.
But I'm not going to sit there and say, oh, well, you join us and don't join them, because hell, I'm a member of the PWNA. Doug's a member of the PWNA. I think I did that wrong. Doug's a member. I'm a member.
Well, and that's the thing. I mean, all of the contributors are members that have contributed to the education that we have, and it is really. And honestly, I'm actually surprised, Raymond and Doug, you've been in on some conversations and some phone calls that we've had for future endeavors. And the fact that we had certain people all together at the same table was, I was kind of proud of that. Some people wouldn't believe it, but it
actually could end up being one of the biggest things to hit this industry. I mean, 2022 has a really good look for it, and I mean, other than one aspect, and I think it's a real. You're not going to talk about it. But,
I mean,
all the other ones I can deal with.
As you have, guys that you think are competition. I mean, we're on the education committee together. I mean, we'll sit here and we have AC Lockyer, we have Michael Hinderleiter. I mean, we have people that we all sit there and talk once a month, once every 2 months about how can we make this industry better. I mean, not worried about how can I bring stuff into Spray Wash Pro, how can I bring stuff into Soft Wash Systems, how can I bring stuff into Power Washing Academy now. Not worried about how we can benefit ourselves, but how we can make the industry better, and that's what PWNA is about.
And let me bring up the Power Wash Academy thing, just because. So, this is how respectful we are of each other. Michael Hinderleiter reached out to Ray and I and said, hey, I'm being forced to do this. It's not something that I want to do, right, because of state regulation. So that's the reason he made the switch from Power Wash University to Power Wash Academy. And that, to me, is the golden respect that we all share and use to help, because quite honestly, this is about I mean, this is going to sound sappy, but it's about you guys, right? It is about this industry, and it's not about all the negativity and the drama and that kind of stuff. It is about lifting and empowering the entire industry. Yeah. And as leaders of the industry, all coming together for different things, to me, that's the hugest part of it all.
100%.
We have differing opinions, and some of them don't even like each other.
Yeah,
but it's
exactly. I have to sit here and look at Bo. I mean, I can't stand the guy. I mean, we only talk like 3 times a week or so. But but no, I mean, Bo, you have anything to add to that, or are you just going to let us sit here and fawn over you like in my head?
Or do you like a redheaded stepchild?
Hey, I actually am watching. No, you guys hit it on the head. I mean, and there's some good things that are going to come. We might have some big announcements at New Orleans, which, by the way, New Orleans, September 8th to the 11th. Okay. Carlos Gonzalez will be doing his only gas station training of the year, or for the rest of the year. AC will be doing a soft wash class. Those are pre-classes before the event. We're going to unveil the training trailer. And I'm going to bet by then we will have permission to make a pretty big announcement for 2022. All right.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I'm excited. Somebody had mentioned earlier that you're the most proactive president in like 21 years, and I truly believe that, Bo. Let's hit a couple of comments here. Good thing being affiliated with PWNA, great people. Met with it. When do you need chemical placards? Okay. When do you need chemical placards? It's whenever you are carrying a placarded amount of a chemical. And I don't mean that to be evasive, but that's when you need chemical placards. At that point, too, if you need placards, you're also going to need a CDL if you need placards, because you are carrying an amount where you're going to need a CDL to carry that amount of it. And I'm not, again, I recommend taking this PWNA training course. I recommend at minimum going to hold on, what's the name of I even wrote it down. I wrote the acronym down here, Bo. The FMCSA, which is the regulatory agency. The DOT is the enforcement agency on that. That's going to tell you how much chemical you can actually handle. But trust me, whenever I tell you, if you get up to a placarded amount, you need a CDL as well. The placard's going to be your least
amount is different. There's different levels of that. And the most common, obviously, is the SH, and that's 1,001 pounds. It doesn't go by gallons. They're not doing any of those amounts by gallons. It's by
pounds. Yeah. 1,000 pounds.
By the way, the FMCSA is who he's talking about, which is the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration.
Mm-hmm. That's right. And one of the things, if you're joining us late on here, one of the things that is so important, and it doesn't matter but it doesn't matter if you have a CDL or not, whether you have the medical card or not, but you realize that DOT and well, actually not DOT, but FM, Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration, requires you to have safety training for your technicians once every 3 years. Whether you're driving something that's 10,001 pounds or something that's 26,001 pounds. And most of us are, if you're pulling a trailer with any weight on there, you need to have this training. The PWNA training actually meets these requirements.
Yep, and I was not aware of that until he was telling us.
I didn't know that either. I literally did not know that either. We've been doing this, honestly, in violation for years. Now, most of my trucks were under that 10,000 pound mark. Had a couple that were over before I sold, and yeah, I was in violation of that. Absolutely.
Well, and you know what? One of the best things that the PWNA has done is bring in Michael Draper as our education and compliance director. Okay. and he's responsible, number one, for finding that DOT guy and making sure he's the one that puts the finishing touches on every single class that is now available. When it comes to compliance, he does a very good job of actually shooting things and putting them together. And he did. Let's get to the other class that's not available to anybody else, really. We're not the DOT's not the only one. We have an environmental class that has been completely rewritten and done by Michael Draper that goes through all of the EPA issues that we're all seeing and talking about every day on Facebook with all kinds of crazy, opinions and information that I see. It drives me nuts. But so that's one of the best things that PWNA has done and it was all about education, because years ago the education needed a lot of redoing, and we've redone all of it.
Absolutely.
That was one of the biggest things that, the previous org that some of us were a part of at one point in time.
What is he doing? I mean,
that was something. Hey, man, quit. My hair.
Hold on.
No, but that's something that we were greatly pushing towards, and it sucked that it ended up the way that it was. Yeah, you're trying to. Don't
I'm getting out of this.
Wait, do that again.
No. Ah! No, I can do it. Oh, that's the wrong way. Here, move your head over a little bit.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You what?
There you go.
All right, I gotta separate you kids. So
there you go. That's no fair, because I can't do that, and Bo can't do that. So next time, make sure we're.
I just don't want the double wet willy. So that's what I'm worried about now.
There you go.
No, I mean, absolutely, and it's great to see us talk. And we're not going to trash each other. I mean, we're friends, privately and publicly, and we all want just what's better for the industry. Again, we serve two different missions. We serve two different things. I mean, again, Doug and I don't have to call our committee meeting is literally, hey, Doug, you want to talk about this? Yeah, let's talk about this. Bo's committee meeting is, hey, let's get the committee together. We'll vote on, because God knows I'm on a committee or two there. Let's talk about this. Let's talk about this. Let's make a motion. Let's second it. But then all of a sudden somebody brings something up, which might be a very valid point, which is out of left field. And now all of a sudden it pushes it off to the next.
Derails everything.
There's different places. Doug and I's thing is a private association. Bo's is a pub. Also, Bo with PWNA, they can go to Sherwin-Williams. They can go to DOT. They can go to any of these federal agencies and go, we represent contractors as a nonprofit and a not-for-profit industry. We represent the industry in general.
And we do go to them as well, but we go to them as a for-profit, which not that we get a lesser ear to a certain degree, but in a way we do. A nonprofit is going to get a little bit better ear on that side of it. And that's why it's great that we really mesh together in the industry and help each other and make things happen with each other, not against each other.
Yep.
I think it's important.
Great. Here's ditch the totes. Aunt Sarah's saying, when I was a termite guy, I had to get a CDL, a truck under 26,001. You need if it's under towing a trailer under 10,000, you need a DOT number, but of course not at CDL. CDL kicks in whenever you're at that 26,001 pound. On there. And Wild West, Wild has told us his story, before, but he actually works in a pretty regulated industry out there with pipelines. So, pretty respect his knowledge that he brings to this. Absolutely. Inspect your tires for load rating. They're not playing with safety, and you shouldn't either. 100%. God knows if you ever get into an accident, your tires are going to get inspected on there.
Mm-hmm.
I had a tire blowout today. On my F450.
Now, don't get me wrong. Whenever a tire blows out, they're not going to go inspect that. But if there's ever an accident involved with your truck, they're going to, and somebody's hurt or there's a problem, Yeah, you could very well find DOT or the Florida Highway Patrol, right up, all crevices you don't want to. This is why you need inspection reports. This is why you need, your SDS sheets. You need your shipping papers. You need to be in compliance. Understand that
it goes so much deeper too.
And just because you don't have a CDL doesn't mean I don't have to follow this compliance. No, not needing a CDL means you're not driving a 26,001 pound vehicle. It's still, if you're a commercial vehicle, you still need to be in compliance.
Even if your tires are worn incorrectly, if they're worn a little bit on the inside or worn a little bit on the outside, or even if the tread depth, if they want to measure the tread depth and it doesn't meet certain specifications, I mean, these are all things that you can get nailed for. And sometimes when these fines happen, they're big fines.
Yeah.
And especially, again, we'll go back to the case of an accident where I think a lot of this is gonna come up, are those little fender benders. I can tell you that with my trucks, I think we've only been in like 2 or 3 fender benders, and nothing really ever came of it, but it could have. That one officer that shows up that just is having a bad day. And luckily for me, those typically happen within the city limits and not something where it fell into the state. I'll give you another thing real quick, and that is my wife was in a little bit of an accident here about 2 weeks ago. Probably about a week ago. And the accident involved a guardrail. Okay, so when the police showed up, they said, whoa, we now have to pull in the state. Okay, so the state had to come in. We had to wait for the state patrol to show up to run their little thing, because this is a something that has to do with a highway or a bridge or something else. So your guys can get thrown into that without even knowing it, just a little minor fender bender. Now they have to call in the state or this other official that happens to be out in the area and wrecks your day.
Mm-hmm.
You have voluntarily contracted with the Department of Transportation to follow their rules by getting a driver's license of any sort.
Yeah, but also especially true with the commercial carrier, even more so on there. You've now, you're going to comply to their regulations.
There's a whole big argument that can be made here, because some people are going to say, well, I got a driver's license, doesn't mean I gave up my rights. You don't have the right to search me, and there's a lot of truth to that. But when you fall under the DOT regulations and rules, that changes. Okay, they then have the not the right, but as Bill said, the authority to inspect your vehicle. And the wording that is on their site is that you must comply, not that you should comply, but that you must comply. And so if they want to search any part of that or inspect any part of that, boom, you're done.
So one thing, and then Scott Hendershot, who you mentioned earlier, he's just chimed in. But I want to talk about manual. So I saw the video about post-treat on the driveway. They mentioned about rinsing the post-treatment. It makes sense. Thought you're not supposed to rinse it off. Well, actually, you should not. And, this is good chemical usage. Just about a video I did the other day, just to bring it up. Find it on Spray Wash Academy on YouTube. And we talked about what's more effective, post-treating or pre-treating, And I sat there and timed out. Well, we were 17% quicker when we post-treated a concrete surface, but also, pre-treated a concrete surface. But I know a lot of people talk about post-treatment and they just leave bleach on concrete. This can be bad. Y'all understand this? I mean,
thank you, Raymond. Thank you.
Oh, God, you don't just go start dumping bleach out there. And I don't care.
The bottom line is this: salt is bad for concrete.
Yeah. Okay? That too. Yeah. And bleach is
and what does bleach break down into? Water, oxygen, and salt. So that's what you're leaving. Now, I'm not going to tell you that it does the same kind of damage that salt does when you're treating it for snow, because they're putting huge chunks of pebbles and that kind of stuff. But that's exactly right. And I do this all the time, but I keep my mouth shut for the most part, because I let guys like you,
take those arrows.
Well, let me throw my 2 cents in there. If you are a member of this community and you post-treat concrete and leave the bleach on the driveway when you leave, like let's say you do it and you leave a 1%, you put a 1% mix on there and leave, turn your backs around.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, and let's face it, it's the problem you have is because there's a lot of guys who leave a lot more than 1%. I mean, I hear them talking about, they pump up sprayer and they put 50%, or they got a super sud sucker and they're putting 20% down there. Remember, and somebody just made the comment, and Scott, I swear I'm going to put your comment up here in 1 second, but rebar. Remember, concrete is porous. We were doing, I kid you not, we were doing a garage about a month ago, and this was a garage that had never been washed before. We blew the lights out. We were doing the 3rd floor. We did the 2nd floor. We blew the lights out on the 2nd floor when we were doing the 3rd floor, because they flush mounted the lights up there to the junction boxes. They didn't put covers on there. The moisture soaked through. It can actually, you put too high of a salt content on there, it can mess up the rebar in concrete. Look at just what happened in Miami. Look at that condo that just fell down. I guarantee you they're going to find out there was problems with that rebar in that building. Promise you they will. And God bless us, people. I don't mean to make light of it whatsoever. But the other thing is, too, the bleach that's staying on the front of it. In Florida, we get these little showers. You reignite that bleach. You wash somebody's driveway off, spray a 20-30% mix down there. Then all of a sudden you get a little spitty shower. The kids are home. They're playing on the new clean driveway. And all of a sudden, Mommy, why are my feet burning?
Yeah.
Or the pets walk out there.
Just from the salt. The salt.
Die, Yep. So anyway, I want to go back to, but thank you very much, Emmanuel. I appreciate the shout out on that. Scott was the agent you were talking about. Remember, 26,001 pounds, that's single or combination vehicles. 14,000 gross vehicle weight truck with a 14,000 gross vehicle weight trailer. You need a CDL, 100%,
Yeah, I mean, and Scott, I don't know if you were here
I'm
earlier.
going to reach out to Scott right now, real quick, because Scott, I don't know if you remember talking with me at the convention, PWNA in Charleston. I would like to invite you to New Orleans. If you would please, let's get together on Facebook here, because we need somebody in New Orleans to go over the same kind of stuff, because your information was great. Everybody loved the conversations, and this is one of the biggest problems in the industry, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So, Scott, do you think you'd be able to make the New Orleans event, which the New Orleans event is coming up September 8th through the 11th? That is the question. He says, yes, I did, but got to answer yeah. Hopefully he can do that.
Yeah.
I think this is that may be Tornabene. Again, all the names disappeared except for just like 1 or 2. I saw, that's probably, I think, John there. Very rarely use bleach in garage, or if you do, rinse it.
Or even neutralize it. I mean,
neutralize it. Agent Holt, come on, guys.
I'm going to give a little tip right now for what Mike. We changed our roof cleaning process about 1.5 years ago. Raymond, I asked you about this. Mm-hmm. Before I did it 2 years ago. We now apply after we've done our roof and it's done its job, the dwell time is over. We then neutralize.
Yeah.
Okay. And then do whatever rinsing we're going to do. We're neutralizing. I haven't had a single callback on roof cleaning for grass or plants since we started doing that.
Agent Holt is such a stupid cheap, insurance policy. God, use Agent Holt. Guys who don't know what I'm talking about, go to Agent Clean Solutions. Get Agent Holt. It's one of the best things you'll ever put in your arsenal. However, as we've learned here tonight, secure the freaking bucket in your truck.
Because that's part of the battle.
Exactly.
Yeah. And again, we know, we understand there's no way to meet all rules, regulations, and all that kind of fun stuff, but you got to try to do what you can do, because ignorance is no excuse for the law, no matter what. And there's no way, even the troopers have no idea.
Ignorance is no excuse for employee number 7 either.
No, employee number 7 just spews ignorance.
It's not an excuse, but I am ignorant. So
yeah, there you go. Anyhow, quick recap. PWNA in New Orleans on September 8th through the 11th for the PowerClean event. Definitely going to be a good show coming up. So especially like if you can't make the huge convention, there you go. Even if you can make the huge convention, PWNA in New Orleans, September 8th through the 11th. Be there or be square.
Steve Sally is asking a question. Said, Bo, explain the process. I love this point. We now rinse all roofs, but never thought to agent halt first other than rare cases. Great topic.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's quite simple. So when you are rinsing that roof and you're going in the gutters and going down the downspouts, now you can do your bagging. You can't bag if you're rinsing the entire roof and flooding it with hundreds and hundreds of gallons. Or you can redirect, which we used to do. But you're neutralizing all that surface now, so it doesn't ultimately matter where it's going necessarily.
Yep.
Even still, you could potentially create a salt pool in a bed that with some delicate flowers and that kind of stuff that you might have an issue with. But by neutralizing that bleach, you are effectively eliminating the majority of your concerns.
Yeah.
After you're done that job.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and seriously, and also what does the Doug, help me here. What's it called? Damn it. Help me think of this. The sheet, ARMA, Asphalt Roofing Manufacturers Association. What do they say? As does GAF, as does TAMCO, as do all these manufacturers, rinse the roof. Rinse it whenever you're done, you know? So go ahead and neutralize it too before you rinse it, because so many guys just leave the crap on there. Oh, the rain will rinse it. Now, it also says that subsequent rains will help. So in my mind, it's telling me to go ahead and rinse it down, get the salt and the SH off the roof. Well, why not neutralize it first? And then we're also going to let the rains come and help us there.
But even Raymond, if you're not rinsing, okay,
you should still neutralize.
It's still exactly, because it's going to turn into salt and be salty for a long. And the next rain's going to wash a bunch of salt down into the beds.
Well, it doesn't say exactly how much to rinse, and you know, and one of the things I've always pointed out is that God above is a much better rinser than we will ever be. Something that we've put. Oh, let me see. Do I have this here? I may not have it here. Let me check in here and see. It's this beautiful thing that we actually have it over in Pro. I don't have the headline here, but we have this calculator in Pro that shows how much rain falls in a 1-inch rainstorm. It is shocking. It so proves out what a better rinser, and people in Pro have known this for months, if not 6 months, how much better of a rinser God is than we will ever be. I'm looking for this.
He's also been doing it a lot longer than we have.
Yeah, true. So I'm going to see if I can find this real quick. This is where I'm horribly. So,
well, while he's looking, I did put up that link to the PWNA events page.
So this is fun. I'm going to do what would you say an average roof? What would you say this is going to be a gimme. You don't have to be a member of Pro. I'm going to show you this here. So an average roof is say 50 foot by 70 foot, right? That would be 50 by 70 is what 7 times.
I think of square footage.
Yeah.
You're going to have to know the pitch too.
Right. Okay. Let's not get all that serious and stuff. So, but 50 foot by 70 foot be
3,500 square feet.
Yes, 3,500 square foot roof. Okay. So a 1-inch rain. I'm going to share you this right here. And this is the rainfall calculator from water.unitedgeographicalsurvey.gov. The government's never, ever, ever lied to us, right?
No, they're always right. And helpful.
Just ask an Indian, right? Okay, so I'm going to do a 50-foot view. Zoom in. So a 50-foot by 70-foot roof. You see where I've got that added in here? 50 foot by 70 foot. That's a 3,500 square foot house. Submit. A 1-inch rain puts out 2,100 gallons of water on that roof. Is that not amazing right there?
That is.
Yep.
2,100 gallons from a 1-inch rain.
Wow.
It's shocking.
That makes me think of the great flood we had here in Louisiana.
Yeah. How much rain? How well did you? So while ARMA says rinse the roofs, it also says subsequent rainfalls may be helpful. So to me, they're saying, okay, you rinse it, but it's going to be better after a couple of rains out there. And then, like Bo said, neutralize it. Why not?
That's actually a really good thing to do, because Bo's also talking about an area that has rain gutters where, like in my area, there are no rain gutters on most houses. And so neutralizing ahead of time can really cut down on the damage to the plants after the fact.
So Rusty is asking for a link. So if I am going to look for the show, where is
I already put up a link.
Huh?
I already put up the link.
Oh, did you? Okay, I'm sorry, I didn't see that. I was looking for
you removed
get
it.
it right from PWNA.org. You go there and just go to it'll take you right to it.
I'll put it up again down here.
I can give some
there it is.
links also separately.
Yeah, PWNA.org, and then click on events. There you go. Pretty simple.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Oh, all right, guys. We've done an hour and a half on here. Any parting thoughts on it?
No, I think it's good stuff. You know, the chlorine cowboys and the YouTube warriors will be like, we don't need to worry about it.
Exactly.
Right? But that is exactly what's wrong with the industry right now. Okay, ignoring this kind of thing and not doing your due diligence to be safe, especially if you've got employees. You want to be a one-man operation and then,
how about it?
Do your thing.
As a one-man operation, you don't have to follow any OSHA regulations.
Exactly.
You can go tap dance across that roof in golf shoes, naked if you wish to.
Okay.
Just send the video.
That's a horrible. That's really a horrible, visual for all three of us.
There you go. But the point still remains, we're always saying you can do whatever it is you want. We're not, it doesn't matter what size company you want or that you want to grow or you want to have. Everybody's level of success is different, and what they view as being successful is different.
Right.
And it's your company to do as you see fit and run. We're just trying to help educate you on how things go or can go, or what the rules and regulations are that you could fall into, and what it is that can take you into that regulatory body, if you would. That was the intention of the show tonight.
Absolutely. And keep in mind, the bigger you grow your company, the more regulation you're going to find. However, is that worth it? I don't know. I mean, I personally think it is from what I just did. Doug, you think it is from what you just did? I mean, the bigger you get, the more regulations you have to follow. Mm-hmm. Also, if you're the guy out there who's turning a solid $250,000 a year from your rig, awesome. But keep in mind, whenever you go to dispose of your company, what are you going to do? And if it's just you and a helper out there, you might not necessarily be able to sell your company for top dollar because it's only you doing it. So that's why we kind of talk about, It's why we talk about these things. I'm not saying I was right, Doug was right, Bo was right as far as where we're going to go with the direction of our company. But if you want that golden parachute at the end, either save a bunch of damn money now or build your company up to where you can sell it eventually.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
All righty. I think we'll say wash on as always.
All right.
Bo, it's been
y'all.
Absolute pleasure having you. And you're going to have to come back before the show and do it one more time. Make sure we get people in the seats there for the PWNA. Training is a great thing. And I was going to say it doesn't matter where it comes from because it actually does very much so.
It really does. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're going to get a better camera though next time.
I gotta get the Hollywood studio like you guys have.
That's right.
I gotta get my backdrop in here and all that. So
I need better lighting. I gotta do the whole thing. Huh?
Fancier camera, all that good stuff. So
when I grow up, I want to be just like both of you. Okay.
Maybe we could mail them a mask.
You've already got better hair than both of us. So yeah. Doug's got the comb down. I'm thinking about literally growing the beard out to do the beard comb over. At this point, that's my last hope.
The same goatee. We both have the skunky thing.
Yeah, the skunk.
I lost the skunk a long time ago. So,
there you go.
all right, YouTube. Thank y'all so much. Thank y'all, Facebook. Appreciate your time.
Wash on, y'all.